what I'll do is there's going to be a slight delay. I'm just
I think we're
looking at my
live
laptop.
now.
We are live. I'm just going to share it on my end. Computer says no, as always. Bear with me. And it's evening time your end, isn't it? What are you, 8 o'clock?
Yeah, you might want to send it to me and I'll share it as well on my thing.
Yeah,
Probably
I'll
should
do that.
have done this before.
No, it's fine.
Probably should have done this before. But
I'm just right. I'm going to send it to you now. My computer's so slow.
Been on social media in
Technology.
a while.
It's great, isn't it? You're back on. I know. I've not seen you in ages. I've been trying to. Right, that's that one. So that's, and then I'm going to send it to you. There we are. There we are. Done.
I
Good
can
morning.
just share it. I found it. I found it.
Oh,
I
super.
can just share it.
Oh, there
Yeah,
I can hear my own voice. It's awful. I don't know about you, but I hate listening to myself again. Good morning, everyone. So, it is my earliest live ever, I think. But that's because of the time difference, because we're here with Fanos, who is in Melbourne, Victoria, to be exact, right?
Yeah, in Victoria,
yeah. And so there is a time difference. So everyone, I'm still drinking my morning coffee and trying to get with it. And yet you've had a whole day and ready for bed now, aren't you? Near enough. Thank you so much for being here with me. I've been trying to reach out to you for ages, and I've been, oh, come and have a talk. Come and have a talk. So I'm really, really pleased you've joined me. Now, when I first sort of, obviously due to COVID and the lockdowns and everything, you were one of the first people that I saw and followed in Australia. So a lot of my information came from you. I was like, right, let's need to keep up with what's going on. And Australia was, I think, a bit like New Zealand and Canada. It was one of the worst places. I mean, we thought we had it bad in England, but from what I could see, your police were robotic. I mean, they were worse than ours, and we thought ours were bad. Your restrictions were worse, and you were very much out there being an activist and trying to wake people up with a whole lot of passion, because you really have got, some people might call it aggression. I called it passion because I could see how much you wanted to spread the message and wake people up and etc. So we're just going to talk about the journey, your journey. But before COVID, what were you doing, and how did it happen for you?
So prior to COVID, I was a security instructor, believe it or not. And it was actually quite funny that I'd actually put myself in that position, because to teach security, you need to work closely with Victoria Police. You need to be, how can I put it? You need to be, you need to be given the authority through Victoria Police as an accepted teacher, that you are a fit and proper person to hold that security license and to be accredited in order to be able to. You need to have Victoria Police's blessing in order to be able to do that job.
Wow.
So when I did speak up, I put myself right in the line of fire, like right away. And I'm just copping a huge cramp here.
That's all right.
My hamstring's cramping up.
Feel free to stretch and do what you need to do. Yeah.
No, all good. So it was when I actually did start speaking out, knowing, because I'm quite an intelligent person, even though people would think, a lot of people would think I don't really harbor much intelligence. I knew that this more than likely was going to be the demise of my career. I knew more than likely that this was going to be like my career is going to be finished the moment I speak up. But at that point, I didn't really care. You know, it was like someone needs to speak about this. Something's going on here. And the fact that so many people are just allowing this to happen and not saying anything at all.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it. Something in me, you could call it your guiding voice. I call it the voice of God, whatever you want to call it, right? Your intuition, whatever you want to call it, however you want to slice it, was telling me, just keep speaking.
Yeah. Yeah. And it did. It cost you a hell of a lot. Like you say, it cost you your job, your reputation. You were under a lot of attack at the time. I've actually got family in Australia myself. And when it first started, I contacted my family. They're in Perth.
Yeah.
And I tried to speak to my cousin and, to relay the message back to my uncles and aunts to sort of say, please be careful. And I literally got shut down. Oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Come on, stop listening to this stuff. You'll be going crazy. And I was just like, no, please don't, please, and I've got my aunt and uncles who are in their late 70s, and I'm thinking they're gonna take this snake oil in my heart, and it was awful. So then you became very, very passionate about activism and obviously trying to make a difference. But it cost you.
Well, it did. Look, people don't realize that when I say I lost my job, I didn't lose my job. I lost my ability to ever do that job again.
Yeah.
So my ability to be a security trainer was gone. That career and security that I did for 9.5 years was gone the moment that the police took my accreditation away. So it wasn't like I lost my employment with that said employer and I could go and pick up that exact same employment opportunity with a different employer. That was completely stripped off the record. I could never do that job again. And I invested 9.5 years of my life into that job. And I was actually a very, very good security trainer. So it was a sacrifice. And to be honest, I honestly didn't know how I was going to pay my bills. I honestly didn't. I didn't know where, but I can say that the whole time that this all happened, I never went a day where I wasn't able to pay my bills. And that was largely, I put it down. I put faith in everything. I said, you know what? I'm just going to walk with faith with this. And I'm not going to overthink it. And the day I actually walked out of my job, I used to listen to a motivator, I still do, called Les Brown. And he's got this quote that says, walk by faith and not by sight. And in my mind, the day I left my job, before I left, I actually said, walk by faith and not by sight. And because what happened was they were actually quite intelligent, my previous employer. They told me to resign instead of be fired because they knew, now looking back, understanding it, if they fired me, I would have been able to go under unfair dismissal because I was quite good at my job and had a very, very good record there. And there was no prior warnings or anything. And I've been through that process to get rid of employees, and it's not easy to do, even if they are really, really bad. You have to follow certain steps. And my boss actually said to me, this was actually really funny. He said to me, not funny as in ha-has, and it's interesting to hear this. He said, because they were ready to, I'm not blowing sunshine up my ass, right? I'm just being honest here. I was so good at my job that they were still willing to allow me to keep working. Even after the Facebook page and everything else, they were still willing to allow me to keep working. But what I had to do was stop everything. They said, mate, shut down the pages, stop speaking out, just do your job, and it's all good. Still,
be a good little
willing
citizen.
for me to do that because I was so good at my job, right?
Yeah.
And I said, and it was my boss, Mick at the time, I said, Mick, I can't do that, mate. I don't know how to explain this, but it's bigger than me. And these were his exact words. This is no word of a lie against Fanos. If what you're saying is true, then you could actually go down in the history books, mate. That's what he said to me. This was his exact words before I left the office. This is no word of a lie. He said, this was it. He goes, you could actually go down in the history books as someone who's remembered. Yeah. And I was like, well, I guess that's probably what's going to happen. And I walked out of the office. I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I walked out like I was coming back on Monday, and I never walked back in the office again.
They were scary times. They were completely uncertain, scary times for people. And exactly, you walked in faith because nobody knew. We just knew that we had to do something and speak up and stand up and resist. And you worked from the heart rather than the mind, because your heart told you there is a serious problem here. We need to do something. But then you got involved with the activism, but that also cost you, didn't it? Because
Yes.
you were obviously, I remember one live you done, and you were in your apartment, and the police were coming for you. You were really under attack.
So before I was arrested, I found out that there was a internal communication that was sent through the police, and my photo was sent to every single police officer within Victoria. And like I had no criminal record. I barely had a parking ticket, right? And because of
your
my job within security,
would have been a threat because of what you already knew.
But it was more that in terms of, because of my job and everything I was involved in, whatever else, I actually had a respect for the police in terms of what they have to deal with. Let's say someone rocks up to your house with a gun or whatever. As much as I can't stand what they did and how much I disrespect them in that regard. Even after all the shit that we've gone through, I still have, and I can't not have, some level of respect for what they would do if someone was at my door with a gun and they were ready to shoot me. Do you know what I mean? And as much as people say they hate them, it's true. They're going to come when you call them. And as much as you hate them, you say screw the police or whatever else, they are going to come and they're going to be the ones who are going to save you. So in that regard, I'm not. That's the degree that I have a respect for them. In terms of what they did, shooting people with rubber bullets, unarmed protesters, are sickening, disgusting. Each and every single one of those people should be thrown in jail for the rest of their friggin' lives, right? So going back to your question, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here.
Yeah, it's fine.
Going back to your question, yes, it was a very distressing period in my life. Even when I hear knocks for about 6 months after the noise had cleared, it's quieted down a bit. Anytime I'd hear a bang, any type of banging, like banging on some timber, a knock on the door, it would actually send me. I actually understood what post-traumatic stress was, because it would take me back to the time when the police were bashing on the door all the time. Because I had them bashing on the door 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, 3 or 4 guys, guns packing on the side. Like the police in Victoria look pretty aggressive. Yeah, knocking on my door, all have firearms, all have pepper spray and all this other stuff. Knocking on my door at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. You're not planning on going to a protest today, are you? We're just here to tell you don't go. Do you know what I mean? Knocking on my door 8 o'clock at night. You understand you're under a curfew at the moment. Make sure you don't leave your home. We're just making sure that you're here. I'm like, where else would I be? But I understand what post-traumatic stress is to a certain degree, because that took about 6 months for that knocking not to bring those that feeling back.
Yeah.
So I can understand that. So it was a distressing time. I received bail conditions. I was arrested.
What for? Why did they arrest you? Yeah. So why did they arrest you?
The first time I was arrested was the first protest that ever got serious coverage across Australia, and we're talking out of a country of 26 million people. I still find it, surreal or hard to believe that I was the individual of all people in Australia that actually ended up on, national television all across Australia as a menace. Do you know what I mean? Because that's, obviously that's what they painted me as, conspiracy theorist, whatever else. But it was that that was the first time I was arrested. And I was actually arrested for when I was reading a Bible verse. And what I was reading was Mark of the Beast. And I was actually arrested they didn't touch me all day. This is a true story. They didn't touch me all day. All day they had the opportunity to arrest me. All day they had the opportunity to pull me in and say, get out of here. Cops didn't utter a word to me. Then we were getting ready to wrap it up. And I said, okay, guys, I think it's time for we all get out of here. And then there was a guy who read a Bible verse. The cops didn't touch him. And then something in me said, speak about the mark of the beast. So I got on the microphone and I said, look, when I was 9, 10 years old, around there, I think it was 10 or 11 years old. I think I might have said 12, right? It was around that time. I can't remember the exact age I was, but it was between 10, 12, 9 years old, whatever else. My dad told me there was going to come a time where they're going to tell you to put something in your arm, in your hand. Don't take that technology. Don't put that in your arm. And I said that to the crowd. And then I went to start reading the verse. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich or poor, free or bond, to bear the mark of the beast. The moment I said to bear the mark of the beast, you could hear a roaring in the back of the crowd. Everyone was screaming. And 9 cops came and got me mid-sentence of a Bible verse and pulled me away. That video has been seen all across the world. That's when I knew deep down in my heart that this is a spiritual war.
Yeah.
And Satan was, I don't know whether people believe in Satan or not. I believe in Satan greatly in terms of and the people that believe and actually worship this individual, right? Whatever you want to call it. I knew that this is it. And I still know, even though I've gone quiet because I just wanted to I wasn't big on social media. I couldn't stand being on social media all day. You know, it's been good to actually just be able to go to the gym, train, do my thing. I'm actually working again, so going to work and, doing what I do, before all of this stuff kicked off.
Yeah. To kind of have your life.
They arrested me.
Yeah, you kind of got your life back a bit now. So just for the record, because obviously not everybody knows, but we had TSG for the riots here, and they're not police, really. They're not police, but they were abusive, and there was a lot of staged events as well to try and get the crowds. But the police at your end, like you say, they were shooting people. And I remember that day, and I was absolutely gobsmacked. So we're just going to talk about few events, how the police acted, what they actually done. And also they got extra police in coming from outside of Australia that weren't Australian police. Is that right?
Yeah, I was on bail at the time. That was when I was on bail. And if I'd stepped foot outside the house and been sent in any of those protests, I would have been put straight in jail. I would have been held there until my hearing, which would have been whenever they felt like it. And I would have literally been sitting in jail for as long as they felt like it until my hearing date. And I said, you know what? It's not worth it.
So we didn't get that here. No, it's not worth it.
I'd already sacrificed enough. So I remember watching both of those on the live stream, and I was actually I was sickened when I saw, because I understand use of force. I used to teach it in security, and I used to have to teach that passage because it's called Section 462A under the Victorian Crimes Act. I had to teach it to the point that you understand the commas and the full stops and everything and why they're there and every word, right? Because we used to have to teach self-defense and use of force within security. So when I saw police shooting at protesters who were unarmed at a distance, I was absolutely gobsmacked. And they were even shooting at protesters that were running away from the Shrine of Remembrance. They were shooting them in the back, right? And all that was about, that had nothing to do with use of force. And that was about where the government, excuse my language, I'm about to swear for a second.
Go for it.
Government. And if you aren't going to listen, we're going to show you just how hard we can kick you up the ass. That's what that was. It was a show of power. It was a show of dominance and for them not to be fucked with, basically. That's what it was.
Yep.
And it was nothing. It was nothing along the lines of use within the realm of use of force. It was not justifiable whatsoever. And I actually did a video about it shortly afterwards, and I spoke about the use of force. I said what these guys did was, if any of those cops were taken to court with what they did that day with any of those people, not one would have been found not guilty of illegal use of force there, or disproportionate use of force. Not one of them would have gotten off without getting in trouble, because it wasn't necessary. None of that force used was necessary at all.
Do you remember? I mean, some people are saying, yeah, because that's not people protecting themselves. I went to a rally where we got told to sit down, so you're peaceful and you're not showing aggression. And but the police, you know, they were throwing people on top of you. They were kicking you as they're coming past. And they all obviously have got the right gear, right helmet. They were hitting people over the head. I mean, that's not, you know, and they, like you say, when we weren't armed, we weren't aggressive, we were peaceful, yet people were being hit over parts of the body that shouldn't, you know, they're not there to be touched unless it's a matter of life and death.
Yeah. Well,
so
look, at the end of the day,
yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, you know, if you look at who was the people that were pushing it all, right?
Mm.
It was the small select group of people. Some people would call them the elites. Some people would call them the shadow government, whatever the hell you want to call them. And everyone from the hospitals to the police to the military to politicians, huge. To government, to council, every single faction of society was being manipulated by these puppet masters, mate. Every faction of society you could think of.
Yeah, it was huge. I can't believe how bad Australia was. I remember there was a couple of instances. There was a video. Now I don't know if this was staged. Again, I didn't think it was, but it's possible. But there was a policeman. He was like a RoboCop, where he literally grabbed that girl around the throat, all to do with a mask. I don't know if you remember that. And she was screaming, and he was strangling her. It was like he was not even human.
Pregnant girl. I forgot her name.
Yeah, and I was just like, what the hell? And then you had another, like, there was so much in Australia that, okay, we did have rough, tough times here, but not like you guys. The lady that got arrested, and they took her, she had her little boy with her just because she was walking with a banner. She made it huge in Australia. So, yeah, and then the other crazy thing, I could not believe it, was how did they even come up with these rules? You know that it's not you're dealing with psychopaths. When they shut the blocks down, the tower blocks, do you remember? And people weren't allowed to leave the block. I mean, how have we got to this? I couldn't believe that people weren't even allowed to exit the block, only if you had an animal and you had to take your dog out.
Yeah, the apartment building in Flemington. Yeah,
it's just crazy.
They completely blocked it off. Well, look, when it all was happening, nothing surprised me. No, like when I first saw what was going on, and I really started paying attention to it, you know, they said there was a deadly disease, it was contagious, whatever else, and I was looking at construction sites with 250 workers. These people aren't going sick by the thousands. I was looking at police, some of the most intrusive bastards that walk the face of the earth in terms of not respecting someone's body space. So you're telling me there's a deadly disease out there that we need to not be around people. That's why you're kicking the crap out of us. But at the same instance, you're not worried about that deadly disease. And you and 8 of your copper mates are bashing a guy who's sitting at the beach by himself.
Yeah.
And you're not worried about this deadly disease because you guys are all together. So how come you people aren't dropping like flies with a deadly contagious disease? So they said this thing was contagious, but everywhere it should have been contagious, It wasn't. The police should have been dropping like flies at that stage. The half the force should have been, and if there really was a deadly disease and the police believed it, there would have been procedures that the police were told not to approach anyone unless absolutely necessary. Do you know what I mean? And still maintain a distance of 3 meters away from these people, because there's a contagion going around. So how can you turn around and say that, yes, it's deadly and we need to be shooting you people with rubber bullets, but at the same time, you're not worried about 8 of you jumping on top of us during a pandemic, and you guys didn't spread this like wildfire all across Victoria. You guys didn't manage to spread this, and that's when to me, I said to myself, this isn't freaking contagious, mate. This doesn't look like something that's contagious, because where it should be contagious, it wasn't. And then I saw them putting palliative care numbers as part of the deaths. And that really got to me, because my mother died, God rest her soul, with cancer in palliative care. And I was thinking, palliative care is where they send people to die. Why would you go to a palliative care clinic and take people that are going to die and using that to, to floss your COVID numbers, to, I don't know what the word you'd use is, but to, boost your COVID numbers. To complement them, whatever you'd call it. And that didn't sit right with me. I said, if people are really dying, we've got a contagion. Why do you need to be going to a palliative care clinic to be telling people that people are dying? Why do you need to be saying an 80-year-old person died and a 90-year-old person died? Show me how many 80, 90, and 70-year-old people were dying 3 years ago every day, if every single day they got on the news and told you that a 90-year-old person died.
Yeah.
It just didn't sit right with me. So when I saw the police, what they're doing, what the government was doing, what they were saying in the media, and I saw everyone was just, it was just like this machine of ignorance. But at the same time, the machine had so many holes in the story that they needed to use what are they called? Crisis actors, and they used pictures from like shipwrecks for deaths in Italy, when it wasn't even deaths in Italy. It was from the shipwreck that was in Italy. And, if you've really got this crisis, why do you need to be using fabricated bits of media in order to push your story? You should have, why didn't you have real things? And there's always all these people exposing how much of a lie this was.
Were you more angry because I found myself being more angry with the people around me for not seeing it than I was with what was actually being pushed on us. And I think even though I was angry with what was being pushed on us, I was more frustrated and angry than in the beginning with everyone complying and not seeing it. And not just that, not wanting to hear it. When you was trying to talk to people, they just didn't want to know.
It's frustrating. It was definitely frustrating. And I was very, very open to criticizing all those people. And I'd use words like morons, idiots, and whatever else. And I'd be losing it on social media.
Yeah.
But you know what? I got to the point that I said, let those who have the eyes to see, and those who have the ears to hear. And the ones that don't, it's like, it doesn't matter what you say to them, they're lobotomized. It's like some people are hardwired to get it and others aren't. And the interesting thing about saying that is, and some people who might not believe in God, I'm a firm believer in God, right? So each to their own.
Yep.
But a lot of the people that I spoke to who were hardwired to see the truth, a lot of them did have faith behind them. Whether it was spirituality, whether it was being Christian or Islamic or whatever it was, right? A lot of them had faith behind them in some way, shape, or form. The people who were godless, completely godless, and all into science, and everything was created by one big friggin' accident, and this is all just one big fluke that we exist.
Yeah,
I'm going to use the term loosely. They're the morons who couldn't see it. And it was interesting. I could see. I found that similarity. It culminated. There was, if you did have a level of faith in some way, shape, or form, a lot of people could see it. Now, there were some people of faith who still couldn't see it. right? But a lot of the people that I spoke to, I found very interesting. A lot of them had belief within a higher thing of us than, we're just a blob of meat, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. A higher power, a divine power, or like you say, a God, whoever is for you.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had to stay away from the events, and you rightly so, because you gave so much of your energy and time. Did it have an impact with your personal life, your personal family, friends? Did it impact? Because a lot of us, obviously, we lost friends and family. Did you experience the same?
Friends, yes. Family, not really.
Good.
Like even my sister and my brother-in-law, who are huge in terms of believing the bullshit, right? I still have a relationship with them. Do you know what I mean? There was a period where we didn't really speak to each other, but it wasn't like if she needed me, I wouldn't be there, or if I needed her, she wouldn't be there. Do you know what I mean? There was never that bond was never broken in terms of. But my family, very, very supportive in terms of what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? So, and cousins and whatever else. There were a few people who reached out to me on Facebook who were friends of mine, close friends of mine, who laughed and criticized or whatever else. I said, you know what? It's better we just agree to disagree, and you can believe what you want to believe. And if you really, really have a problem with what I'm doing, then just unfriend me, man. Simple. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, our friendship wasn't that important to you to begin with, so just unfriend me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So look, I did have a lot of support.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing was I had just a massive influx of just support from people. The amount of people that just messaged me and said, man, thank you so much, because I thought I was going crazy. And you're actually saying something. I thought I was going nuts. I thought I was the only one believing it. This was the messages I was getting. Thousands of messages a week through and I finally learned that, with Facebook, you can't message everyone. You'll be there 8 hours a day. Do you know what I mean? So in the beginning, I was replying to everyone. Do you know what I mean? Trying to be polite. And then by the end of it, I said, I'm spending 6 hours a day messaging people here. It's taking too long. But it was, look, my family was good. And my dad was the one who told me about this years ago in terms of, and he spoke about the microchip, but we didn't know what a microchip was back then. I'm 41. He told me when I was, as I said, between the ages of 9 and 10 or 11, around there. I was living in Darwin Boulevard. I don't remember exactly what year it was, right? But it was between those years. And I was old enough to recollect it and old enough to process it. So I couldn't have been 7 or whatever else. I would have had to been older. So I did have support from my family. Yes, I definitely did.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, we had so many people who became very divided and lost, close friends and families. I mean, I was one of them. And I just couldn't believe it. And the hurt as well, because you love these people and you don't want them to fall prey to, they as far as I could see, they were willingly walking into a gas chamber without knowing, and that was a serious problem for me, because when you love someone, you don't want anything bad to happen to them.
It's interesting you say that. Oh, sorry, keep going. Sorry.
No, carry on. Yeah, go on, carry on.
No, continue, because you were about to say something.
No, that was it. Yeah, the worry and the love. Yeah, we've got a slight delay. I think it's I think it's because you're at the bottom of the globe, right? Down under.
Don't get me started.
Don't go there.
Globe, man.
Don't go there. But yeah, so there is a slight delay.
But don't get me started.
But your satellites aren't working very well. But yeah, say what you was going to say.
Oh yes. So the interesting thing was that when it all started kicking off, I started a Facebook page and people were just joining this group, and this group exploded to like 50,000 people or whatever else, which is which is unheard of, that something goes from 0 to 50,000 in weeks, do you know? And what was interesting was there was, I used to get a lot of trolls and a lot of people who would message me. Oh, I think it was on Telegram. She messaged me. I don't remember if it was Telegram. It was a different app. She messaged me, or she was messaging on the page, or whatever. And she was like just going absolutely acid in terms of, you know, I'm wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about. And I spoke about the fact that there's going to be, they're going to create a vaccine and they're going to force people to take it. This was early 2020, like 4 months in. I'm messaging this lady, whoever she was, because this is what happens, right? When you, and because she was saying I'm fear mongering, I don't know what I'm talking about. Because when people hear what I've got to say, it's so debilitating with fear towards people in terms of that this could actually be a possibility, that people will do anything to defend their mind in terms of that they think I'm full of shit in order to have peace of mind and be able to sleep at night. Because I'm talking back in 2020, they're going to force people to take this stuff, right? So this lady, she goes, you know, you're fear-mongering, you know, you're talking. And I said it to her back then. I go, mate, they're already talking about, if they're doing this and they're already talking about vaccine, what are you going to do when they force us to take a vaccine? She goes, they're not going to force us to take vaccine. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just a conspiracy theorist. You're, what was she looking? She goes, you're trying to get clout. You're trying to get likes or be on social media or whatever else. I go, are you an idiot or what? I go, mate, I go, if they're talking about it, they're going to force you to do it. What are you going to do? You're going to force your kid to do it? And so many people were like, oh, they're never going to do it. And this is what gets me about those who don't have the eyes to see and those who don't have the ears to hear, right? When you are telling them it's going to happen 2 years before, they're criticizing you. But then they don't have the mental fortitude or the foresight to remember that 2 years ago they were pointing the finger laughing at you, that there's no way the government's going to force us to take a vaccine, and now you're lining up to get the very thing that you said was never going to happen. And you don't remember, you don't have any recollection at all that you were giving me shit 2 years ago about this, and now you're lining up to get it. And not only are you not lining up to get it, you are defending the government who's forcing you to take it like you've got serious Stockholm syndrome. You're defending them, and you don't remember 2 years ago you were giving me crap about it when I told you this was going to happen. And then you're lining up for the second because I told you that there's going to be more than one, and you laughed at me about that. And now you're lining up for your third and laughing at me that I'm a conspiracy theorist when you moron, you're lining up for your third when you didn't even believe they were going to give you your first one.
I know. You know, you couldn't have put it any better. It's true. It's absolutely true. They couldn't see. They couldn't remember. It's surreal, isn't it? You can't explain. It's got to be a state of hypnosis that they were all under. Because how can you not remember 2 years ago, like you say, I warned you this was going to happen. You denied it. Now it's happening. You're not remembering that I warned you about it. You're not thinking, actually, you know, Fanos was talking about this. That's not even entered your mind. And you're protecting the people doing it and going back for more, like a pincushion, drug addicts.
Yeah, but it's even worse than that because they're up to the 7th.
Yeah, I know.
And they're still defending it. They're still defending the 7th one. These idiots are still defending the 7th one. And I'm like, hang on a second. If the government came out in the beginning and said, okay, guys, we've got a cure here, but one's probably not going to do it. You're probably going to need 7 of them. How many people would have lined up to take the first one? And they said it was going to stop transmission. And it never did. And then we said that it didn't stop transmission, and that people laughed at us and pointed fingers and called us conspiracy theorist nutbags. But then the medical establishment turns around and says, well, we can't say for certain it's going to stop transmission, but it's going to ensure that you don't get as sick as you would get. Well, hang on, that's not what you told us in the beginning. You said it had a 99% efficacy rate or whatever else you said. And now you're turning around and saying it's an 80% efficacy rate. Now you're saying it's 70. And then you're turning around and saying it's 50. It's like, how stupid would you have to be as a human being, as an individual who harbors some sense of intelligence to not be able to process and go back in your mind and have, you know what, have a little bit of common decency about you and actually be genuine within yourself and say, you know what, I can't stand that guy, Fanos. But he was fucking right what he said about 3 years ago. He said they weren't going to stop at one. He was right 3 years ago when he said that they're going to force us to take him. I don't like what I'm hearing, but it's like they won't even go back and process it. This is how I use this analogy, right? This is the best way I use this analogy. The reason people don't accept that little bit of information as plausible or true, because it's like you're standing on a cliff, and the moment you accept just one tiny bit of information as being plausible, as what this crazy nutbag overseas is saying, or even within my hometown is saying, then if you accept, for instance, that the jab was never going to work, they knew it was never going to work, they pre-formulated it, whatever else, then you have to start accepting everything else.
Yeah.
What was the pandemic for? What was the reason they did that for? Then this could be true. Then that's true. Then this could also be true. Then the Satanists that run this world are all collected within Illuminati and the Bilderberg Group and this and that. That could also be true, because now I've accepted that I can't not also fall into, and people use the term rabbit hole. I hate the term rabbit hole, right?
Yeah.
But people fall off that cliff, and the moment they accept one little bit, it's hard not to be able to actually start allowing everything else now to be plausible, and it's a domino effect. So people maintain, you know, they really dig their feet in the ground, and they don't accept it. They're like, nah, none of this trust's true. I can trust my government. I can trust the politicians. I can trust the medical association. These people have been put here to protect us. I'm going to believe them. I'm not going to trust this crazy nutbag who probably doesn't even have an education at all. Why would I listen to this bloke? Do you know what I mean? Doesn't matter how many holes is in the story.
It was exactly like that. And you're right, because the moment they accept one story and realize actually there could be truth, then they have to look at everything else. And what I noticed was that people didn't want their world to change, and they weren't ready to accept anything, because they just didn't want their lives to change, because to then deal with it, to accept it meant you had to deal with it, and they weren't ready to do that. They just wanted to stay under the rock, carry on with their life at whatever cost. I don't care. In fact, I had a lady, because I was working in the school at the time, and it's really weird because I started working in the school in January, and I loved it. It was just, you know, I was in the office 2 days a week, and I loved it. And then by March we locked down, and then I they shut the gyms. I mean, how is that about health? And I was obsessed. I was a gym junkie, and I was thinking,
Killed me.
Yeah, it absolutely ruined me. It ruined me. And I was, and you know, hold on a minute. Now, how is it that you can get a takeaway, but you can't go to the gym, when it's a gym that keeps you mentally and physically fit, but the takeaways are open, that are the ones that kill you with the shit food, but I can't go to the gym. No one in the gym is going to bloody die unless you're a steroid junkie. But the point was, I couldn't get it. So that's when I started questioning what I was seeing wasn't matching what I was hearing. The logic again kicked in, critical thinking, thankfully. But I had 4 months to research. It was the most painful experience of my life, because I'm in my house, no gym, no going out, no friend. My friends didn't even want to go for a walk. No, I'm going to stay in. Are you fucking kidding me? We're healthy. If we are not going to be able to sustain this, and we are going to the gym and eating healthy, then there's no fucking hope. We might as well just call it quits now. So these things were what got me to wake up. It was literally the most painful experience, and I've lost my train of thought now where I was going with this. It's just gone. I can't remember where I was trying to get to, where I was, but it was every bit of information that I could find in those 4 months is what led me to where we are now. Because I've completely lost my trail of thought. not had enough coffee.
Mate.
It's morning time. But that there was so much that didn't make sense, and I couldn't believe that. And then when I was telling people what was going on, people just didn't want to accept it because they did not want their life to change at any cost. They didn't want to face the reality that we are living in the most messed up situation. And then I was out and I was talking to my friend and I was saying, you know, look at the children. She said that we were in a park and there was kids with their parents playing, and she said, look, this is what it's all about. You know, she was trying to get me out. And I said, yeah, but I'm looking at these kids. I said, and my heart goes out to them because I know that those parents are going to, you know, put poison in those kids. I said, and they're going to damage them. I said, you're seeing me outside, let's go and have fun. It's when we started to open, but I can see children being ill and being practically, you know, damaged by their own parents' lack of logic. They call it love, but it was lack of logic. And I was faced, and it was so frustrating. And I stopped going out. And the gym as well. I was like, all these fit men, all these really big men wearing masks. I said, well, where are you fighting for what is right? What's the point of you beefing up and looking like, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger when you're walking around with a nappy on your face and complying?
Yeah. The gym killed me because I train, you know, probably 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. You know, it's my therapy. Do you know what I mean? And when it wasn't around, it wasn't the same training at home. I hated it. I actually liked, because it's not, people don't understand one thing about training is it's not just the weights or the boxing or whatever else. It's the social aspect as well. You're around people and you create this society of friends that you know, this collective of friends that you know, and every time you go there, you're having a conversation and, you know, you're training, but it's also you get to see people. And all I got to see was the gym equipment in my garage I set up and a brick wall, and it wasn't the same. I didn't enjoy it. But going back to what you were saying about you know, being able to go to the bottle but not being able to go to the gym, I found it interesting that I couldn't go to the gym, but you could still go to the strippers.
What the?
I couldn't go to the gym, but you could still go to and get yourself serviced sexually in terms of brothel. They were still operating.
No way.
They were still operating when they started doing they were still operating. I'm like, how are the strippers not getting COVID, not dying by the thousands? If someone gets close to you more than anyone else, it's an exotic dancer. How are you people not dying by the thousands? Why? Because you're wearing a mask that doesn't work, a mask that doesn't stop the vapor size, a mask that, you know, like you're not pressing around your nose properly in the bottom of your mouth for microscopic virus particles, right?
Yeah.
How the hell did that stop it? It didn't stop shit. So how the hell did you people not die by the thousands? It was madness. Crazy. Now, I can't confirm 100%. I'm trying to think of the timeline, but I'm pretty sure when they shut the gyms, which was because it wasn't an essential service, I'm pretty sure that they were still operating. They stopped operating, I think, after that. But even if they allowed them to operate even before that, it's like, look how close these people are getting to people. Yeah. Your job is to get close to people. That's your job. Now, I couldn't believe it. You know, that stuff I couldn't believe.
That's just crazy. I remember reading about the jabs when they were trying to entice you with the jabs, and, you know, they give you a free taxi ride or a Krispy Kreme donut or kebab. But the other one was a free, what do you call it? A free session with you know, a prostitute. They actually advertised that, and I couldn't believe it. And I was thinking, and this was, I think, Holland or somewhere like that. They were actually, offering you this is,
Amsterdam.
and this is, and this is it. And you're thinking, so obviously, if this was a real scenario of a real pandemic, people would be seeing people dropping like flies, and they'd be so scared they'd want to willingly do it. But clearly, you have to bribe people with food and women to you know, free taxi rides and whatever, and kebabs and Krispy Kreme. What the heck? I'm like, and the other one was paying you for surveys. They were actually paying people to get surveys done, and to have your jab, and they were paying you if you have, I think it was like so many, your family members. It was the most surreal time ever. I don't think we'll ever experience another time like it. The lie was so big and so in your face that it was.
I think we will.
Do you think another lie that big?
I 100%. That all that was testing the waters. That was one big experiment, testing the waters. And what they injected into people, I don't know what the hell it was. I don't know what the hell it was for, but I believe they're going to be able to use it to do something.
I don't like to say that.
I'll explain my rationale behind my thinking with this, right?
Yeah.
If your intention was only to inject people with this purely for the protection of the people and no other reason, and you believe that it was going to stop transmission, and they'd already successfully injected, say, 90% of the Australian population or 95%, why were they so hell-bent on getting the other 5%? Why were they so... It's like, and they were shooting themselves in the foot with the way the media was doing it, because in one stage they're saying anyone who doesn't get it's a conspiracy theorist nutbag, and they're a minority, and people shouldn't be concerned that the minority hasn't taken it. But at the same time, you're saying that the minority is not taking it, but at the same time you're turning around going, oh, if you haven't taken the jab, you can't go to the pub, you can't go to work, you can't leave certain areas of your home. I mean, certain areas in order for you to work, you can't leave certain amounts of periods from your home. But if you do have the jab, you can go. So and this is called extortion. Extortion is when you do something through force in order to be able to gain something by saying, you know, like, you know, oh, you don't want to pay us protection for your deli. That's fine. But if someone were to come and break all your windows tomorrow, we couldn't do anything about it. Yeah. And guess who's going to break the windows? The very people who are wanting to protection money, right? Yeah. But, and this was where I saw the holes in it. I'm like, okay, so you're saying that we're the minority and it's not very many people doing it. But at the same time, the media is turning around and saying, if we don't do it, then we're not going to be able to leave our homes. The lockdown's not going to end unless we do it. So that means it's not 90% of the population that's taken it. You're flossing the numbers. You're fudging the numbers severely. And maybe it's only 50% of the population that's taken it. Now, why are you concerned that only 50% of the population's taken it? You must want them to take it for a certain reason, because you know for a fact that that shit doesn't stop transmission. You know for a fact that shit isn't going to stop people from getting sick. So why do the people who know the real reason why that's around are so concerned with getting it into so many people?
Yeah.
And that's when I said, that, I'm going to swear again, that fucking thing is for something major. I don't know what it is, but I honestly believe that they're going to be able to activate some type of sickness or do something with that injection in the future. And that's going to be the next one. And that one is going to be real.
Like Bill Gates said.
It's not going to be a fabrication. It's going to be real next time, because now everyone is taking that crap. God protect them all.
Yeah.
That shit that got in it, the graphene, whatever you want to call it. I know what it's called. I'm just doing it so you don't get censored.
Yeah.
The graphene, whatever you want to call it, right? The whatchamacallit monoxide.
Whatchamacallit, yeah.
Right? That shit. Yeah. That whatchamacallit stuff, right?
Yeah.
That assembles itself under electromagnetic frequency or radio frequency. That stuff self-assembles. That stuff's also known to cause clots, like, you know, clocks on walls.
Clocks.
Right? That stuff's also known to cause clocks, right? Like big clocks, 12 hand clocks,
big, right? Big Ben type clocks.
So who's to say that shit isn't in them? They didn't try to get that into people for a reason.
Yeah.
That the story's not over in terms of what's coming. That's what I believe. There's something that there was a reason they injected that into people. And I believe that the whole thing was about that. It wasn't, COVID was about giving that to get that into people. My question is, and my question's always remained, why?
Yep.
Ticking time.
What is so important? What is so important that everybody has to have it when the science, the logic doesn't match. So therefore, you've even admitted that it's not about what it was initially meant to be about. So what is it really about? So why the desperation? I sadly agree with you, and as much as it hurts me, I would like to believe that there was some placebos, but in my heart, that tells me. Do you think there was? If they were that desperate,
in the first ones.
If they were that desperate, right? Well, I've also thought about this. If they were that desperate to get whatever it is they really wanted to get into people, do you really think that they would miss that opportunity? Because I think they wouldn't. Even if it was saline
that they gave society, we weren't allowed to go anywhere.
Yeah,
people weren't allowed to go to work and feed their families.
Exactly. So whatever it is they injected that they needed to inject, I don't believe there was. Yeah, I don't believe it was a placebo. Maybe the placebo was maybe different vials had different reaction, but whatever was the most important thing, if you know you're going to have one chance, are you really going to not use that chance to do what you're meant to do?
But you got to be careful as well, because if you inject people with the real stuff right away, and the first lot you do, 200,000-300,000 people just fall ill, what's going to happen? People go, well.
But what if it wasn't? Absolutely. But what if it wasn't? What if it was the technology, and that's silent? Like you say, that's going to react down the line. What if it was the technology?
That's the graphene whatchamacallit.
Yeah, and that's what's causing.
You know, I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in this stuff, to be honest. In terms of what
we're speculating. We're just speculating. But absolutely. Talking outside the box. Yeah, but yeah, it is. I think you're right. I hope there was placebos. And that, you know, there's going to be people that are going to be absolutely fine, especially if they only had one and possibly maybe two, because each I know there was it a lady in America that actually said that each vial had different numbers, and depending on what numbers they had, it had different things and whatever. It's just one of those things that time will tell. But I gather you're noticing more people no longer being around, the rates going really sky high of people, you know, sort of, you know, with illnesses and passing over where you are.
Yeah, apparently the death rate has skyrocketed. The rate of young deaths is skyrocketing, and the rate of children dying has gone through the roof, apparently. And the rate of cancers and sicknesses like Alzheimer's and all of these degenerative diseases and stuff like that, apparently that's skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So whatever this stuff is doing, I looked at it and I just say, what's the reason you wanted them to take this? What you know,
Yeah.
if this is all one big show in terms of just how dangerous this was, and you knew that, and the developers of this stuff, they know what they've created, really created. Why did they want to put this in people? There must be a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They don't do these puppet masters don't do anything without an intention in mind. And these people are very patient. Could be 300 years that all of this stuff has been planned years ago in terms of what was going to happen, right? You don't know. So why?
Yeah.
Is it depopulation? And is it depopulation because are they going to be? And why were they so hell-bent on the period when this was being introduced into the world? They were so hell-bent on getting all those 5G towers up at the same time. Why were they so concerned with getting the 5G towers up? And I tell you right now, 5G internet is shit.
Yeah.
It is so shit. It's shit. I've turned, and people say, oh, why are you using it? I'm getting buzzed by these fucking rays anyway. I might as well try and get faster internet if I can, right? Because I'm getting like attacked from all this shit anyway. Even if whether I use the phone or not, I'm still, excuse my language, I'm still going to get attacked by these, by these buildings in terms of being within proximity of them, right? Yeah. It's not, it doesn't get you just because you're using your phone. You don't need a phone and you're still going to get absolutely mauled by this stuff. Yeah. It's shit. It doesn't work properly at all. It has no speed. It doesn't work properly. It doesn't catch reception properly. It's always cutting out. If you're in a building, it doesn't work properly. But I thought it was meant to work better through buildings or whatever else. So everything they said it was going to do, it doesn't. But why were they hell bent on getting a technology out there that's been absolutely crap? And at the same time, you were trying to get it out during that period when you were doing this. Why? What's the significance?
The importance. Yeah, absolutely. What was the importance? Yeah, I mean, and like you say, when we were in lockdown, when I sort of came out, people were allowed to go out again and whatever. And I think it was about a month that I stayed at home, and then I was like, no, stuff this, I need to get out. And I noticed how much work had been done to put these towers up, and I was thinking, and roads had been relayed, and I was thinking, why? How has this happened? Why? What was the importance? There is something in it, and you're right. I've got a new phone, which I had no choice. I had to get another phone, and it's got 5G in it, and it is worse than my other phone. The signal is even worse, and I'm thinking, how is this possible? It's meant to be better.
I've turned it off. I use the 4G. I don't even use the 5G because it's shit. Yeah. It's absolutely shit. I'd always have things cutting out. It would never work. I'm like, this is meant to be better. This is shit. Then why did they want these things for? Why did they put them everywhere for this revolutionary thing that was meant to be super high speeds and all this other bullshit? And it's crap. So what's it there for? Must be there for another reason, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so what do you think, if you had to predict what was going to happen? Yeah, if you were to predict what was going to happen, what do you think we're going to be coming up against? Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, climate, smart grid,
climate, something to do with climate. They're going to push the climate agenda, huge, hard. But also, I believe that they are going to do another pandemic, right? They're going to do something. I believe it, but after 2025. And why do I believe it's that late? Because this is what I call the reward stage. So all the morons out there, right? And I'm using that quotes because I said before, they're those who can't see and those who can't hear, right? Those people.
Yeah.
They believe that the government had all of their best interests in mind and they had nothing to worry about whatever else. And it's like, you see, I know we had a curfew. I know we weren't allowed to go out after 8 p.m. I know we weren't allowed to work unless we got injected with this thing. But see, now it's all back to normal. See, if we listened to you conspiracy theorists, we'd still be locked up right now. This is the reward stage. This is the getting the carrot. Everyone's getting the carrot right now. Yeah. So that everyone goes, oh, there's a lockdown happening in December. I'm like, no, it's not going to happen. And I'll tell you why it's not going to happen. Because this is the reward stage for the morons out there who believe this shit from the beginning. And even the most conservative of folk, if they had hit us with another lockdown so quickly, even the most conservative folk would start going, well, hang on a second, we're all jabbed. We're up to the 5th. We're all doing everything right. The WHO has said that this isn't an emergency anymore. What do you mean? This doesn't. Even they would start questioning it because they're in the reward stage right now. When you tell a dog to sit, you give it a treat. We're just one big dog, and we're getting a treat right now. And that's the way I see it. This is reward stage.
Very good point. Very good point. I imagine in your journey, you also came across many different, people talking about different laws. Natural law, straw man, etc., all different types of things, and we need to use this and we need to use that. I'm not sure about you, but I'm at a stage right now where obviously I do want to learn as much as I can to try and fight the system, but I feel that the corruption is so high and so strong that it's not going to be down to learning laws as such, but people power in the end. What do you think?
100%. That movie Ants is a perfect representation. If you haven't seen the movie Ants, go watch the movie Ants. And when the grasshoppers, I think they're grasshoppers, they go back to their, their hive or whatever the hell you want to call it, after that one ant stands up, they're sitting at the bar and they're talking about the fact that, this one ant stood up and whatever else. And he goes, and the grasshopper grabs a seed and throws it. And he goes, oh, what do you think of that? He goes, he laughs at it. And then he pulls the chute and all the seeds fall out at once and they crush these two little grasshoppers. And they goes, don't you see? He goes, when one stands up, they all stand up. And if they all understand this, there goes our way of life. Yeah. Right? And that's the perfect. I actually posted a video about this on my Facebook page ages ago when I had a Facebook page that had quite a significant following. Some people would remember. And it was that little snippet from Ants. And that's the same thing. But the problem is, this is the problem. Not all the ants can see that the grasshoppers are bad. Mm. And everyone, and a large percentage of the world sees that there is nothing to worry about, and these grasshoppers are here to protect us. And I'm using the term grasshoppers because I'm on this ants thing, right? But so people can understand what I'm saying here, right? Yeah. And it's interesting. I actually had someone ask me a question, and I was on a sit down, it was this Morgan C. Jonas show, whatever else, and it was a sit down thing. I was on stage, and he goes, "What advice would you give people?" And I had so many people comment on this video. It's had like 50,000 views or something on Instagram, right? And it's like, what would you tell people in terms of what advice would you give people when they see all of the negative information coming on our side in terms of the world, right? And my message what I was trying to deliver was, we know these people, what they're doing, we know what's coming, whatever else, but at the end of the day, still enjoy your life and still have some type of enjoyment in the meantime. Yeah. And I use this analogy, there's a tidal wave. And the tidal wave meant that you, within your power as one individual, cannot stop what's coming. You within your power as an individual. I don't mean millions of people standing up all around the world, billions of people standing up. I mean you as an individual, right? And I said, imagine you're on a beach and there's a tidal wave. And you found out that 3 years from now, you're on an island, there's a tidal wave. And 3 years from now, you found out that there's a tidal wave that's going to hit your island and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. And now you can't get off this island, right? So anyone who says get off the island, whatever else, you can't get off, okay? And you live on this island. Now, you could live your life three ways. two ways. You could either sit there every day and agonize about the fact that there's an impending doom, that there's a tidal wave coming, or you can prepare for the tidal wave, be mentally prepared for it, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, and be prepared for it in every way you can. Accept that the tidal wave's coming. Still be ready to fight because the tidal wave's coming. Because the tidal wave is the shadow government, whatever you want to call it, the Illuminati, the Bilderberg Group, whatever the hell you want to call it. These Satanist assholes that rule this world and have 1% of the 1% that have 99% of the wealth. Right, those guys. Yeah. You can accept that this is coming, as in central bank digital currency, mark of the beast. All this stuff is coming, whether we like it or not. It's coming. Whether it's going to be successful is another thing altogether, but it's coming, right? They're going to try and put us in mega cities and take away all of our belongings, and you'll own nothing and be happy. World Economic Forum bullshit, all that. I said they're not. I don't know. They might not be successful, but the wave of them, as in coming with all of that shit, it's coming. So you can live your life two ways. You can either sit there agonizing about the fact that there's a tidal wave coming, or you can live your life, enjoy yourself, find enjoyment within your life, find happiness somewhere, love your family, spend time with your friends, and enjoy life as much as possible, because that tidal wave's hitting whether you like it or not. I use that analogy, right? And what I found interesting was so many people commented that I was like saying, no, we have to fight. And it's like the message isn't not about fighting. You don't get it.
Yeah.
It's just about fucking enjoy your life in the meantime and actually have some fun and enjoy yourself and be grateful and actually have some type of life. Enjoy yourself, because that stuff's coming either way. That was the message. I'm swearing a lot now. I've gotten.
I agree. No, I absolutely agree with you. Yeah. Because during the lockdown, when I obviously first woke up, 2020, by July, I kind of felt like I'm going to die. I don't know why. I just like, oh my God, I'm not going to be here next year. We're all going to, I'm going to be dead and whatever. And so I decided, and I couldn't go and see my family in Sicily because we were on lockdown. I'd saved money that year to go and see them. I couldn't leave. Everything was, planes weren't flying, and we had the most amazing summer. There was no planes. We had a beautiful summer. Not chemtrails, is it?
Yeah.
Anyway, but I decided.
Yeah, interesting that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean,
during lockdown,
nobody could. We had in England. Okay, so this is England, right? We have shit summers, and that summer was one of the best summers that we had in years. And I'm talking very unusual for England, that every day was a beautiful day. Every day. That does not happen here. And the skies were clear because there was no planes. Everything was grounded. But no, chemtrails are not a thing, are they? They're just conspiracy theory shit. Coincidence. But yeah, so I decided, if this is going to be my last year here on Earth, because I genuinely thought I was going to die, that they're going to kill us all. I was that worried because it was a massive 4 months of down every rabbit hole. So not like every now and again. And I thought, right, I saved up the money to go to Sicily, couldn't get there. So I thought, well, I'm going to buy a paddleboard. I'm going to be spending my summer at the lake, and I'm just going to enjoy whatever I can. I had the most amazing summer.
Yeah.
A mismatched bunch of people came together. We paddleboarded. We were there until like 1 o'clock in the morning, having barbecues, paddleboarded. It was brilliant. And all of a sudden, the anxiety went. And I thought, you know what? I'm fine. I'm fine. If this is my last summer, I'm fine. So yeah, I completely agree with you. We do need to stay focused, aware, with the knowledge, and keep, this should be at the forefront, but equally, you also need to put time aside for your family, for your hobbies, for some kind of enjoyment. Eat that, if you want to eat, you live your life, eat what you want, if it makes you happy, eat it. Obviously be sensible, but see the people you love, go wherever you can, live, but have that balance.
Yeah, that's right. 100%. The interesting you spoke about the whole clouds thing. And I thought to myself, how interesting that climate change decided to take a break for 2 years while we were locked up. And climate change decided to give us time to all be injected with God knows what. I'm copping a cramp again. Oh. Climate change decided to take a break over 2 years because it wanted to give time. How nice was climate change to not bother us with detrimental floods and 1 in 100-year weather events. And then lo and behold, after this shit finishes and you've injected everyone with God knows what, all of a sudden climate change decided to start. And you want to hear something interesting? I was on this Zoom call, but with Sasha Stone did it, and he had like over 100 people all around the world on. I forgot what they were called. The Guerrilla News Network or whatever he called it, and there was just 100 people on a Zoom call, and anyone could chime in. And I got asked a question, and it was about how the pandemic was easing in the UK, and all of the things were going away. You were guys one of the first ones to ease that stuff off, right? And I said, COVID was here to take away our rights. Get ready, because climate change is here now to take away our property. Yeah. And no shit, no word of a lie. 2 months after I said that, COVID was over and we were getting hit with those extreme weather events, floods, this, that, getting hammered with rain. Yeah. Rain we'd never seen before. Lines in the sky everywhere. Rain we'd never seen before. And every single news network was talking about climate change.
Yep, absolutely. And people can't see this. And the other thing that we had or didn't have during lockdown, did you notice how the terrorist groups decided to take a break?
Yeah, all of them.
They must have been really scared of COVID too.
They were scared that, as a suicide bomber, they could catch COVID and die. Yeah. That's right. They were scared as a suicide bomber whose job it is to give up their own life was they were going to catch COVID and die. So they decided not to blow themselves up.
Yeah, because COVID was scarier than, I agree, and, wars were put on hold. No one was arguing with each other. So there was no bombings. There was no, but then as soon as COVID was over, we're going to hit the wars and terrorist alerts and chemtrails again and COVID, like you say, not COVID, climate change, I hope. It's just been surreal. It really has been.
And there's more to come, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% there's more to come.
So what are you doing?
Stop until they've got everyone
jabbed. Wherever they want. Yeah. There's a real delay, isn't there? Yeah. What are you doing now? Now that it's all over and it's not over, but it's we've suffered, I believe, the worst of it, and we're still going to have more. It's quieting down, and something's going to start. But what are you doing now? Because obviously you couldn't, you lost your chances of the security. Are you back in that, or are you doing something else, or?
No, I'm actually, I've got quite a large array of abilities in terms of employment. I used to be in construction for 14 years, 15 years, probably even longer than that. We worked with my dad since I was a kid in construction. So I'm actually a qualified carpenter, and I know how to bricklay, render, plaster, concrete. I basically did every job you can think of with my dad, right? And I'm working for a renovation company at the moment. So we prepare houses for sale. So, 3 weeks ago I was doing plastering. Today I was doing a decking. A decking is like, timber and that outdoor stuff. We call it a decking. I don't know what you guys call them in the UK.
Yeah, no, that's not decking. No, I don't think so. Decking is when you put you build a little
patio. You call it a patio?
Yeah, like a patio, but with wood.
Yeah. We call it a decking. That's what they call it in Australia. Yeah. So I'm building decking. Last week I was working in the decking. I was doing all different stuff because it's a renovation company. So everything I've got my ability to work in, I'm working in. But I've just been working flat out, 5 days a week, and then I've got Another thing I do on the weekends is a side gig. I've been doing that as well. And training every day. 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm up. 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm up. 5 o'clock, I'm in the gym. 5:30, I'm out by 6:30, 7 a.m. And I train about 5, 6 days a week, 7 days a week sometimes. Depends how I feel.
Yeah. And you're still, have you noticed more people have woken up? And,
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not gonna fall for it. Yeah. And you're still talking about it. I mean, if you're obviously, I think we're very much similar, but you can't help but have these conversations still with people and spread the word.
No. Well, look, I'm planning on making a bit of a comeback in terms of speaking on social media, whatever else next year. I just wanted some time to recharge my batteries, get away from everything. And everyone's like, oh, you've gone silent because of the war, this and that. You don't want to speak about this side and that side. I go, no, I never like to comment about that shit, because how do you know who's on what side pulling what strings? And how do you know both sides aren't being controlled by the same frigging puppet master so they destroy themselves? Do you know what I mean? And people are so inclined with and are so switched on with don't believe all the propaganda, don't believe the bullshit. But at the same time, everyone's so motivated in terms of one side or the other in terms of what's going on here. Now, what's going on is a fucking tragedy. What's going on? These poor kids in Palestine, whatever else, they're getting bombed left, right, and center, and there's no excuse for that. And people, the same people that were sitting there talking about the fact that it's the COVID and the globalists and this and that. All of a sudden now you're in support of your very government that's just bombing innocent people because apparently there's people in these that are hiding in these hospitals or whatever else. But at the same time, they're still bombing innocent people, and you're justifying that, and you're okay with that. And I'm like, it's not okay on either side of the fucking fence. People getting bombed. So I've just been quiet, and not because of that, because I was just working. I was working, and I really didn't have much to comment on it because of the fact I always see that war, it's always engineered from both sides. And I wouldn't be surprised if the very people that they're bombing have been put together by the very people who wanted to bomb them.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And it's all one big frigging game. And it's all about creating another world war, maybe. Because it says what's his name? The guy from the 33rd degree Freemasons, the big guy, the one with the beard. They're all got beards. The Albert Pike said something. This was 300 years ago, and he said the East will destroy itself, something along those lines. The Middle East, between I think it's something to do with the Islamic and Hebrew or something else. And it says that 300 years ago this was written. And it says they'll end up destroying each other. And now 300 years later, what's happening?
Yep.
And what's this going to lead to? Is this going to lead to World War III? What's going on with this? Do you know what I mean? So anyway, so I've just been quiet, working, training my ass off every day, just gymming it. And that's it. Yeah.
But I get what you're saying, because I noticed as well that people that claim to be awake to COVID, and then all of a sudden something else happened, like you say, the wars, and then they're taking sides. Or the biggest one for the UK was, we know that these elites, I hate calling them parasites, okay? But parasites, they're not elites, they're parasites. Yeah. But we know that they are a complete different class of a level, not class, because they have no class, but a level of parasites. And they're all in it together. But then the people that are calling themselves awake, and they've been down all these rabbit holes, and they know that you can't trust the media, you can't trust these parasites. The Queen dies. And then I'm getting truthers, so-called truthers, going, oh, have some respect for the Queen. I'm like, are you for real? Are you for real? I thought you were awake here. The Queen.
They're a family of pedophiles.
And and the amount of truthers that I thought were on our side, and then the divide actually comes within the truth community, and you're sitting there thinking, show some respect. She's still a mother. a grandmother and an old woman. I'm like, oh my life, no way, no way, no. And then that's just one example.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing with either side of these people bombing each other at the moment, but look, it's not really either side of the people bombing each other at the moment. I believe it's one side bombing one side really badly and the other side really not retaliating or doing. And I found that really interesting. Like, hang on a second. So you managed to find a hole in the defense that you could bomb a superpower like them, and then but you had you didn't have any extra bombs afterwards, and you're just letting yourself get mauled with bombs, and now you don't have anything in return, but you managed to find the one little hole that they had in their defenses with something called, I think it's called the Iron Dome or some shit, which is like one of the highest advanced military applications in the world that stops air attacks. But that wasn't working for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And within that time, they knew. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't make sense to me. But now you're getting bombed left, right, and center, but you're not sending any back. So why are they calling it a war?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But this is the thing that gets me with this whole thing. Everyone's going, yeah, they're getting dropped on this side. I'm like, don't you think there's not just like Israelis, as in Jewish people in Israel, whatever. There's Greeks there, and Lebanese that are probably living there, and Australians that are probably living there, and Lebanese people that are probably living there. And on the other side in Palestine, there's probably, Jewish people that are probably living there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And Greeks and Italians. It's like the two sides are celebrating this going on. It's like, it's not just them. These countries are exactly like every other place in the world in terms of, if you did something in Melbourne, then you're getting everybody. You're getting Greeks, you're getting Italians, you're getting Vietnamese, you're getting, you know what I mean? It's if it happened anywhere in the world, it's not just that specific people that are getting hurt. It's everybody. It's just a mix. I don't understand how people don't see that. Do you know what I mean? This is why I don't like anything to do with war. It's always fabricated, and we never really get the true story. And war on terror was the biggest load of shit ever. That was just to go in and just destroy all those countries and free them.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you had in Australia, because what we've had here, and obviously we don't always get the information cross country, but what we have here is a huge, massive influx of immigrants. And a lot of people are saying that they could be UN soldiers. Have you had anything there similar?
Yeah, there has been, but it's different in Australia because we're surrounded by water. Yeah. And we're miles away. For you guys in Europe, it's pretty easy for them to. Are they able to, hang on, can you get from the Middle East to Europe without a boat?
Oh God, now you're testing my geography.
That way?
No, I think
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, you would have to at some stage. I think you would have to go by boat, but they're coming over from France to the UK
what I mean,
by boat.
It's isolated,
but it is. I get what you're saying. Yeah,
we're very far away.
So you're not.
We're very far away from that part of the world getting hurt.
All right, so I've just been told yes, you can.
Over in a boat.
Yes, apparently you can. So this is what we've got going at the moment. There's a couple of theories, and I'm just going to say this is just a theory for entertainment purposes, whatever. But there's a couple of theories as to why this is going on. So we have got open borders, and I kid you not, I can tell you, stories. I'm not sure how your Australia's like there, but we have got all these immigrants coming over, and they are affecting everything. They're affecting our schools, our local lives. People are at risk, especially females. And again, they're not coming over because apparently they're coming from war-stricken countries, but they're all men. There's no children. There's no elderly. There's no women.
Yeah.
And so two theories are: one, that they are actually UN soldiers and they're going to be here for when it all kicks off. And two, they're also coming over to balance the books because of the influx of people dying. They don't want to make it look so obvious, so they're balancing the population books. So
Did you say the first one was instability?
It's the first one is where they're coming over and training as UN soldiers, and what the theory behind this is that apparently our army is going to be sent abroad for something, so they're not going to be here, and it's all going to kick off for whatever reason. What would your take be?
My take is that putting people from foreign worlds with foreign ways of thinking and whatever else in terms of creates instability.
Yep.
And creates problems within society and creates a public outcry for the government to step in.
Yep.
Problem, reaction, solution.
That's more my take.
You need to give the police more powers.
Yep.
You need to give the police more powers. These people are fucking a nuisance. They're raping people, they're hurting people, whatever else. Why aren't you people doing anything about it? And then the government turns around and goes, fine, give us more power. We'll create this legislation which says this, and we can do that. And everyone would be like, yes, please help us with this problem, right?
Yeah.
It's to create instability, and it's to create public fear, and it's to create an outcry for more control.
Yeah.
To stop. Yeah. And it's not about stopping the immigrants or whatever else. It's about give the powers more control to control us in terms of because of these people, whatever else. That's my take on it anyway. It's got to do with bringing people from war-torn countries into other countries that are stable to create instability.
I absolutely agree. That's what that's more the line that I've gone down. But yeah, it is. Right. Well, I'm not going to keep you any longer. I know it's late to your end, and I don't know if I just quickly ask if anyone does have a few questions for Fanos, please drop them now, and I'll see if I can pick a couple. But you know what? I just want to say thank you for doing this with me. It's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. And you look well. Because I remember obviously the stress that you were under, the attacks you were under, and so now it's really good. Your energy is actually shining, and I can see you're in a really, really good place. And that's what we need. We need to be back centered.
100%.
Here's one. Thank you, Richard. Great question. What do you think of Riccardo Bossi?
Interesting, Riccardo. So I'm the type of person, and I made this a rule with the way I'd operate. I wouldn't talk shit about anyone, whether I liked them or not, whether I agreed with what they were doing or not, whether I thought they were good or not. In terms of, I would not, because I didn't know 100% for sure what people were like. I wouldn't talk about people. Riccardo as an individual, as a person, in terms of what are his intentions as an individual, I believe he's like everyone else in terms of he's just a bloke who's obviously a very dangerous dude in terms of what he used to do. He's a hard ass. He used to work for the SAS, for God's sake, right? Who has what he wanted to do was with good intentions. In terms of do I like him? In terms of I used to, until I did my interview with him, and one of the things he wanted to do with his party, he said he wanted to make Islam a prescribed ideology, which basically means make Islam illegal. I'm like, what do you mean by that? And he goes, oh, no, you can be Muslim, you just can't practice Islam. I'm like, that's pretty full on, man. Like, this is people's belief. Do you know what I mean? And they're not all bad people. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of people are really nice who are of that faith. Do you know what I mean? Really, really respectful people. And that was one thing that sort of got me. But do I believe he's there for purposes that aren't genuine, I believe all of them have been genuine. And people go, oh, don't trust this person. They're controlled up, this and that. And I used to always say this. I said, do people understand what the word controlled opposition means? It means to create a voice in terms of that actually creates people to turn away from the fight. It creates people to be to start throwing monkey wrenches in all the operations and stuff, not support all the protests, not be there, not telling people to be at protest, not speaking at protest. That's not what controlled opposition is. It would be someone who says that they're there as a for freedom movement, but then telling people not to go out to these events because they're going to get hurt, or they've heard something that the government agent's going to be there, and for your own good, don't go there. That would be controlled opposition, because now you're deterring people from the common purpose that everyone's integrated into moving towards. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, people are just so stupid. You can't be controlled up if you're screaming from the rafters to fight, to do this, to do that, and to just be and all speak in the same language. It makes no sense. So no, look, I believe his intentions were genuine as an individual in terms of what his beliefs were. I don't agree with them 100%, but I'm not there to talk shit about people either.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Right, brilliant. So that's it. I've got no other questions. So I'm going to thank you. We look forward as well. I know I do, and as well as the followers look forward to you doing a comeback with your channel, and obviously once you get up and running, share it away, and it would be brilliant. I'm not going to do any more questions. I think that question was a good one to end on. Thank you so much. Bear with me. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
please
Laura.
share this. Yeah, please share this video, and hopefully we'll see Fanos back online very soon. Right, much love to you all. Speak to you soon. Mwah.
See you guys.